Hello there, folks, and welcome to the stream. My name is Mike D'Angelo, aka That Tellest Guy. You can tell by the fact that we're doing a stream on Saturday that this is a little bit different than usual. I started doing something maybe about like 3 months ago now, where every 2 weeks I add like one new task to the things that I want to try and accomplish every week. And one of the things that I have to do is um, every week I need to do 3 streams, and I need to get the downloads off of Twitch. I need to move them over to kind of like a staging ground for myself for the next week. At this point, I think I'm up to like 12 different things that I need to do, and I'm pretty good about it. But this week, because of just being tired during the week and then having some extracurricular stuff that happened, I did not have enough time. We did like a double on Tuesday. Wednesday I wasn't going to be able to do anything, and then by the time Thursday and Friday rolled around, I just did not have the energy that I needed. So what I figured we would do is kind of like a special little Saturday episode. It's going to be a little bit shorter than usual, but it'll still count. And I figured what we could do is I could show a little bit of the behind the scenes stuff that I do to get things ready for the Patreon and everything like that. This is especially helpful if you're not too familiar with Incarnate, or Patreon for that matter. If you don't know one of either of the two, this will kind of show you how you can do the things that you need to do to get those kind of working in tandem. So let's start off. I wanted to say that the first thing that we have is the greenhouse map that Becca Tigers made us. I've already made 5 variants. This is the 6th variant that I'm going to make. In theory, like, you could probably get away with saying like, hey, there's 4 POEs or POIs here, even though, you know, like, they're not right there in your face or anything like that. I kind of said that the basement was 1, and in theory you could say that something here was a point of interest as well, and I figured I would actually put something in here. And then I've got 2 other places where I've got some stuff that I'm going to throw down. Let's see if I can find the darn thing. So you can see I've got a snoozy cat, a skull in a pot, and a bloody sword. So let's indicate where they are. Let's go to our opacity. Zoop. So you're going to see where all those things are now. So the snoozy cat's going to be probably the easiest. Let's find our cat. We've got a couple of cats. There we go. Let's make it an orange cat. I feel like orange cats are the stupidest. So let's change this to 30%. It'll be maybe this one's a little bit bigger. Just right there in the middle of all that. We don't need the text there anymore. The only thing is, I kind of don't want it to be all doom and gloomy. So let's throw that there. Right now it just kind of looks like it's dead, and I don't want it to look like that, but I can't think of a better way to show that it's a sleepy cat. Anyway, let's do a brush layer. So we're going to add a brush layer, and we're specifically going to put it right here in this pot. Actually, that's not terrible. I just need to change the... Where is it? Color adjustments. So you can see that's there now. Let's put the object back in the object layer. Not there anymore. Let's find a skull. I want to do the epic stamp skull. I will if I have to. Got the wizard skull stuff. That's not quite what I want. golden skull, which I think if I threw that in there, well, it doesn't matter. I can do whatever I want. See, it's going to be Jihugic, but I can shrink it down a little bit. Let's make it so it's not straight up and down. And let's see, what do we got to do? It's flatten this to a specific. Start with the brush layer 3, and then paint some of this in. Actually, let's change the opacity, maybe like 40. Paint over that a couple of times. I don't want it to be like readily apparent. I want you to kind of like have to look at it a little bit in the map before you see that it's there. Zoom on out. Right, I feel like got a little bit of time to realize that it's not there. And then down here, we got a bloody sword that we're going to throw in there. Scooch that up. Let's see. Those are silly swords. Vampire Hunter Sword. 30% ought to be it. Okay, and we'll actually just use on object layer 1. It's bloodstains and stuff. Let's do it a little bit smaller. That's great because it's got the little hole in the sword anyway. Tell you what, we're going to do it a little bit differently. I'm going to throw kind of the bloodiest bits over here. Do is mess with the opacity a little bit and shrink it down a little bit, and mess with the opacity a little bit, shrink it down a little bit, mess with the opacity a little bit, shrink it down a little bit. And let's just throw one more little bit under the sword and whatever. We'll just keep it under. It's fine. So that way it kind of looks like a blood trail. Alright, so that was the important part. Let's do... We got our points of interest, so let's do a save. While that's saving, I'm going to move some stuff over on my folder. So I can show you what I do. Okay, now I gotta do an export. Export that at 4K. Excuse me. So I have, while this is doing its thing, I have a like a sort of template that I make myself where I get all the maps and then I make a POI subfolder so that I can throw an image together for my buyers so that, you know, typically, like if you're getting a brand new map, you don't necessarily know all the little tricks that might be on that map. So I like to do the points of interest for that so you can tell a story the way that you would like to. So we're going to call this one the greenhouse POIs, and then once we get these maps exported, I will show you kind of the next part of the process. I also have like a little tool that I use that makes life a lot easier for me, and I'll kind of show you about that too. And if I remember it, who knows, maybe I'll even throw together something for people to find on like Amazon or something like that, because I swear by this device. It's fantastic. Alright, while all that is doing its thing, well, I gotta wait for this one anyway. But I will bring up the Stream Deck software. That's my little device. I mean, if you are on Twitch, there's a chance that you might be streaming, so you might already know about things like the Stream Deck. But if you don't, this is a nice little thing that you can use. There's a mobile app as well. I kind of like the tactile feel of the traditional Stream Deck. So it's bringing up my Stream Deck. So right now, you're going to see exactly what I see on my screen. So I have these little things. So if I wanted to, I could hit this little follow button on my screen, and then you would see that little animation comes up. This screen specifically has these animations. It's like why I have this little thing in case I want to use any of these. This goes to an advertisement for Quantum Quest. All that stuff is good stuff. So what I'm going to do actually now, you can see that the map is done. So we're going to go to the home button over there, and then you're going to see all these other things. These take you to the scenes that I have. I'm going to go to my profile, and then you can see all the other stuff that I have here as well. I am going to go to Battlemap Prep, and then here is where I have all the things that I can make maps really quickly with. Real quick before I do any of that, I'm going to come down here to the right arrow, and I'm going to do one more. And this is just a real quick set of macros that I made for myself so that I can rename the maps without having to painstakingly go in every time. So let me show you what that means. So these are the ones that we have. I'm going to grab these real quick. So these are the last ones. So at this point, I think I should have 15, right? You have the base one, and then you have 14 other ones. So, greenhouse, this guy here, is always going to be my low res. You can tell, like, that's the very first one that I start with every time. And if you compare that to greenhouse 1, you can see the size is different. That's because it's low res. Again, you can see here, I have got a low res button, and I've got a couple of other buttons that show me how to do these things a little quicker. So I'm coming here to greenhouse and then just hitting the low res button. It automatically does that really quick for me. There's one other one where I say high res gridded from 1, and that's because this one here is always a little bit ugly. So if I click that button, it automatically does it for me. And then anything else that doesn't have a 1, it's just real quick and easy. Way quicker. It's kind of silly, right? Like, it doesn't seem like it makes that big of a difference, but like, it's so much easier. You don't have to worry about messing anything up. You know, like, human error is one of those things that like happens a lot, and this kind of takes things out of it. You don't have to worry about that stuff. These last two. Now this greenhouse 2, that's just because, again, that very first map that I do has low res as well. But that's a nice clean way to do it. So now what I'm going to do is, you'll see if I go back using this arrow, I've got a couple of partner maps that I have as well. So what I have to do is start by opening up the greenhouse low res. I'm going to open it with the Photoshop, which is going to take a second. And when that's done, this partner is Becca Tigris, so we'll grab that. I also made it in Photoshop that there's an easier way for me to duplicate, because Photoshop, I don't believe, unless someone can correct me, Photoshop does not have a shortcut for the duplicate button. So this is something that will automatically take the layer that I'm working on, and it'll duplicate it, and then it'll ask me where I want to put it. Again, it feels like it's not a lot, but when you do things with as much of a repeat motion as I do, it's very helpful to have those kind of things. And in order to do that, I'm using something in Stream Deck called Bar Rater, and it is something that will, by macro, tell my mouse where it needs to go based on X and Y coordinates on the screen. You can actually see up here the press to start button, and you can see as I move my mouse left and right, it's detecting where that stuff is. So then you plug that information into the duplicate, and then that's how you get all that good stuff. So I've turned off the mouse detection. That's why you can see like it's not doing whatever. I think if I was going to go forward and go back, yeah, so it restarts again. So now we're just kind of waiting for Photoshop to do its thing. So again, I've got a low res map that we already worked on that's coming through. Maybe. Perhaps. And when that's done, we're going to hit the button to get Becca's map up as well. And when I say Becca's map, this is Becca's map as well. It brings up the low-res version of the map that I need. This is our template for Becca. It's already got her watermark all set up and everything down here. Easy peasy. Now, one thing that I do mess up a lot is I never save the template. And it's very easy for me to do that now. I just won't, because I'm that kind of person. So I also, if you'll have noticed, I have an image size button and I have an intended width button. Really, I only need one of these buttons. If I got more partners, I might get rid of these and just kind of swell up the area with those other partners. What I'll be doing is hitting this image size and then image width, and you'll see it's much easier to do than anything else. So image size, I don't have to go into any of the menus or anything. Intended width. Oh, the only problem is I do like promotions for people's books and stuff too, and sometimes I have to take away the aspect ratio. So again, hit the button and then it'll change everything. And now, assuming that the program is configured the right way, if I hit the duplicate button, sometimes I have to hit it twice, it goes too quick and it needs to have like a delay. So it brings this up, and then I can say throw that onto the Battlemaps low res, and there you have the new map on the template with the watermark that we need. So then just save it a copy. I think at some point I need to make a macro for this. When I come into the JPEG here and I resave it here, I need to do something that knows throw that in there and then throw that in there. And it's going to be, different for everybody, but for me, that's the kind of stuff I need. I need to throw that in there like that. Then I get rid of the original low res because it's not low enough res. And then this is our guy that we're using. I don't need either of these two anymore, so we can do a close all. And then what we're going to do is the POI one that we made is going to be our map that we're using for the POIs. Let's see if this will let me open it. It should. I'm using the beta because the beta has like all the new features that they're playing with and everything. Sometimes it doesn't play nice though, so let's grab this like this. So you can see this is the POIs that I had for the Pirate Cove ship. It's the third map in our Pirate Cove map set. So we do know at this point that we have the 4 POIs, right? We have the Sleepy Cat, the Skull in the Pot, the Bloody Sword, and the Basement. We're going to keep the Basement for the very end. So let's start with the... That's a big skull too. It's like a half giant. So then I'll come in here, throw this in the top. And then just some text to throw it all together. Okay, and let's grab our Sleepy Cat next. To throw it all the way over there. Okay, let's get our Bloody Sword next, and we'll end with the Basement. Last one. Excuse me. Okay, and then we're going to do a save so that the PSD version of it is in place. And then we're going to save a copy as JPEG. Save. Okay, good to go. Now we're pretty much done with the Photoshop version, so we'll close that. It'll make life a little bit easier for us. We don't need to be in here anymore, so we can actually close out of that. And I already have Patreon up. So what I'll end up doing is going to the free version that I had of a previous post, and I will bring I have two monitors, so I just slide them aside from one to the other. So I've got this stuff here for me, and what I'll end up doing is go to the old one, copy, paste, rename, store the image on there. It's easier now than it was because I can just drag and drop. While that's loading, we'll grab this. Rebecca. And then in here I throw the POI information in here. So we'll say the regular map, standard map, has pretty great look. But if you're looking for more points of interest, we've got a special version that will be available for folks at the $5 level and up. It has a skull in one of the pots, a snoozy cat, greenery, bloody sword hidden behind the rows of plants, and of course it contains doors that lead down into the basement. Okay, and then down here, every time I talk about the variants that we have, so we do have 6 variants. Again, I know what they are based on what we have here, so we've got one of them makes the greenhouse look like a pavilion. Let's see, one of them adds a glass ceiling to the greenhouse. Plants within, as well as a tree and the doors to the basement. And what else do we got? We've got there is a version with no middle content. And there is a version with POIs. Let's see. So we've got no basement. Oh, there's just one without a basement. So, like, I don't do consistency when it comes to my spaces. That's the only thing. And then here you'll do your tags. I always have my basic 6, and then I've got Becca. Throw we're on there twice. Collaborator map, greenhouse. I go to next. This is going to be for public. This is free for everybody, the low res ones. And we are doing this for Tuesday. So this is actually okay, but it needs to be 8 a.m. And then we're going to schedule that. Boom, that's done. And then we get rid of that because we don't need that one anymore. And we're going to keep the free version up that we just did because we're going to copy a lot of stuff from that. Open the Scholar version of this other one. Again, I have this kind of templated out at this point, so it makes life easier for everybody. Okay, and then all I need to do is grab this statement about POIs and change this here. Ooh. And throw the image in there. So we're going to put the one with the POIs in there so that people can see it right away. And I had to clean it up. Alright, and then we grab the variance stuff, which ends there. Oop. We'll do paste as plain text, and then we're going to throw the POIs and regular ones. We'll throw them in there, they'll all show up there. And then this is going to be for the $5 tier and up. This is also going to be for Tuesday, and I time this out so it does the minute after, and then I turn off these alerts because they should be going out to everybody anyway. Okay, don't need that one. I keep the free one up. I happen to like the glass ceiling one that I made, so I'll throw that in there. You'll notice I always have some kind of quirky speech in here, so I'll throw that on here. Okay, and then the variant stuff is already highlighted for me. Boom. And then down here, everything in here gets thrown in there. And I have to go back one more time to get the POIs. Lots of tags now. Oops. Poked around down here just to make sure that the POIs ended up in there. And this is for the $10 and up tier. So I'll set the release date also for here, but here we go up to 8:02 a.m. Turn that off. There you go. And that is how that's done. So that's our little behind the scenes tour of how all this works. Sorry I didn't get to do another actual map this week, but hopefully this was a fun little side quest to go on. That's going to wrap things up for me today. Let's do a real quick peek over at the show closing page. I'm not going to speak too much on this, just because oh, you know what? I don't have to do a speech anymore. I can talk. I thought I was going to be doing recording, but I don't think that I need to. So on the screen right now, you should see all the places that you can find Tellest out there on the internet. Tellest.com is your best first place to start because it'll lead you to all of our other projects. We've got 3 map-related places that you're going to want to check out. We just looked at Patreon, so you can go to patreon.com/Tellest. That will be where you can get most of the maps the cheapest. It's a really cheap monthly price that you can subscribe to. You get at least 8 maps per month typically, because that is the goal that I've set for myself. Tellest.etsy.com is where you're going to be able to find physical versions of our maps. They're kind of on hold right now, but we found another print shop partner, so we're going to be bringing that back soon. Battlemapfantasy.com is your one-stop shop for a la carte digital style Tellest maps, so you should check that out. There's 2 TikTok channels that you should check out as well, at Tales of Tellest and at Weird Witch Wands. That's where you can find our doggies and Rihanna's handcrafted stuff respectively. And then we've got 2 video channels for you to check out. YouTube.com/@WorldOfTellest is where you're going to be able to find all of these videos well after the 1 month period that they're up on Twitch. But twitch.tv/ThatTellestGuy is the only place where you can come check us out live and see things like this behind the scenes stuff well before they end up on the YouTube channel. That's going to wrap us up for tonight, but thank you for joining us. Thank you for seeing this later on YouTube, and I will catch you next time. But until then, I miss you.